Early childhood teachers wanted to get a guide that would help teachers understand about learning in nature, for nature, and about nature. And that was a common request asked of some of those, especially in the North America, as the whole movement took off for let's get children back into nature. Story Park in the USA were the initiators and said it would be really good to develop a guide for early childhood teachers for connecting children to nature. Story Park was here in New Zealand, it was in the States, it was in Australia, it was in one or two other countries. And they heard of this interest and said, we'll support this and we suggest to you. So it was Story Park that suggested that an international group. So 6 of us from 3 different continents came together to develop this. So many of us had started, including New Zealand, started children learning for nature, learning about nature and in nature. As the 6 of us got together and kept talking more, we said there's another whole perspective on nature and human relationships with nature, and that's learning with nature. By kinship. It took us a while to come to kinship in our discussions, and when we were talking about both the concepts that we were wanting to include and help, if you like, people to share with children with tamariki, we realized that we were coming at this in a way that didn't draw it all together, and we were also missing out a whole lot of knowledge that none of us had personally, but we knew and had read it in terms of knowledge from Indigenous writers, their perspective on looking after nature and relating to nature in a different way from learning about it, using it, enjoying it, but it shifted the relationship to something deeper. And if you go to the Indigenous people, you learn that they have never been as damaging to nature as industrial countries, and those with industrial type economies. So we talked about this. We spent a bit of time reading from Indigenous writers. We talked with people in New Zealand, Māori, and decided that it was about relationships, and could we find a word that summed up the sort of relationship that we wanted to put learning with nature, and that it was a reciprocal relationship, it was a caring relationship, and came up with the word kinship. We were not alone in this. It actually pops up in writing, and especially from Indigenous writers. So we went, that's it. That's at the core of what is important for us as a team, but we think it's a core for young children to have. We're not going to necessarily teach a lot about, or we might teach about for, but what we want young children to do is form a relationship with nature that is very special, has a spiritual dimension, and that's in our tapariki itself, which is brilliant. That there is a discussion about a spiritual relationship, and that specifically applies. You see children in a hugely natural environment, and something happens. Something happens to all of us, I think, if we stay still and pay attention. So we came up with that term, and then it shaped all of the rest of the time that we were working together, and said, right, that actually is at the centre of what we're on about, is helping young children develop a kinship relationship with nature. we wanted, we were coming from 3 different countries, and our perspective was that we wanted to make it accessible in different countries for free. We'd done all of this work as volunteers. We wanted it for free and easily accessible. And Amanda Higgins is the other Kiwi that's been involved in this, and she works for Story Park. She set up a way of people being able to subscribe and just get the whole resource. The Environmental Kinship Guide is a print copy, but also online you can get a summary, and the way that we've used it in Daisies is that we print that summary, which is just 2 sides, covers off 2 of the components of the 4 on each side, and it summarizes primarily the those 4 areas or domains, and then the possible approaches that you might take. We take that out in our bags when we're out in nature, and then we may or may not go any further in and go, oh, here's an idea about what we might do today, or we might follow out and look back at the guide. A child interest, so the interest in oh my goodness, we've found something that moves in the stream in the hour. And you might follow out and look at the guide again for some things that you might do further to that to expand out on that interest. So there's also some little examples, 1 sentence, half a sentence, about what other people have done around the world when they've been in the stream and doing some stream examination or learning. So useful for thinking forward when you're going out into nature. Right, I think the focus is going to be on width, and that is challenging for many of us. And let me take a look at the guide before we take this group of tamariki out into the bush or into the stream and the water. So it's a really practical guide, which is why we carry it, the summary anyway, with us a lot and refer to it. People find it useful to have a print copy, but you just get it online for free. The website is simply www.environmentalkinship, all one word, .org, environmentalkinship.org.